Mad Men was an AMC original series that aired from 2007 to 2015. The show, which ran on for 7 seasons, takes place through the 1960s and 70s, and tells the story of mysterious but talented advertising executive Don Draper. The show quickly became famous, winning 16 Emmys and 5 Golden Globe Awards. It is considered one of the greatest TV programs of American history and takes its title at the top of modern television. The show is visually motivated, oftentimes utilizing the on-screen scenes to push the storytelling further. Moods, behaviors, and actions all aid in this. What also helps with the storyline's propulsion, however, is the way everything looks. Being set in the era between 1960 and 70, Mad Men does a really good job at reconveying the stylistic elements of that era. The settings, environments, clothing, and general look of the show all help affect the overall mood and make it feel much more immersive. That brings us to Don Draper, the show's protagonist. The main clothing choice we see Draper take on throughout the series is the classic 60s office suit. It's a pretty standard but clean look, popularized mainly by Ralph Lauren. He tends to wear padded jackets that cut off somewhat short, although not by much. The sleeves usually go long and cover his shirt cuffs. However, unlike the decades prior, the elements of the suit are not as large and powerful as they once were. Lapels, ties, and shoulders are smaller than beforehand. This suit style existed for a large period of time beforehand, but only truly became commonplace in the 1960s. The power suit would be revitalized around 2 decades later, however. There are multiple points where we see Draper take on a more peaked lapel look, however, for the most part, his notched lapels are a sign of that time period. Nonetheless, the suits he wears convey an image of power that fits Don perfectly. The suits themselves tend to be made from multiple colored threads of different materials, and we don't often see him wearing a single monocolor suit. Most of them take on a silent but noticeable pattern of threads that complement nicely. They each have a sharp V-cut downwards that finishes off the look. As for his complementary elements, Don Draper is often seen sporting a thin tie to go alongside his lapels. His ties are classy and businessmen-like. They often showcase clean striped patterns, but at many points in the show are just one monocolored piece. Either way, they tend to go nicely with the suit and often make for good fashion choices. Staying on the topic of complements, we often see Draper taking advantage of the formal look of pocket squares alongside his suit jacket. He often uses a simple white line folded square that's showcased quietly in his breast pocket. Underneath his suit can be seen a white-collared business shirt. The shirt is pretty unremarkable. The look was a standard of that era, and most men in business wore shirts of the same kind. Of course, the 70s brought about the stranger styles like the wide-open shirt collars, but those weren't the business standard of that time. At the end of the day, Draper keeps his business style simple, minimizing it to just 2-piece standard suit jackets. When he's not dressed in business attire, however, we really can see his eye for artistic clothing style show itself better. In Season 1, Episode 3, Draper is seen wearing an elegant navy cashmere coat over a black shirt. Although it's a simple one-button look, it shows a sense of diversity in his style. It's not just the simple change of color with his jacket set anymore. Unfortunately, we only see him dressed like this in this episode alone, but he's dressed casually at other points throughout the series. He takes on a sweater-type look occasionally in Season 2, wearing cardigans, sweater vests, and V-necks. At other points in the show, he's sporting polos, beach-style sports shirts, and windbreaker jackets, which were all very popular styles of the decade. However, there are points where he takes his clothing a step above business casual to dinner formal. These suits are usually characterized by a simple black and white contrast, whether it be a black set with a white tie or vice versa. These suits showcase elegant shawl lapels, which are accompanied by a bow tie. This is, of course, a very formal style devised for very specific events. However, it is, nonetheless, elegant. Finally, accessories such as hats and shoes were also curated by the show's designers to fit Draper's style. His shoe choice tends to be black, smoothed off Oxfords with noticeable height to them, which we can assume is due to his character being the most powerful one in the room. Furthermore, he often wears hats, namely a style named the fedora, which was commonplace in that decade. The hat shape perfectly mirrors his overall facial structure, meaning it doesn't make him look boxy or strange. It's just right. Of course, nowadays fedoras are not seen as the stylish add-ons they once were, but for the era of the show, they complement his look very nicely. Don Draper is a fashion icon for TVs everywhere. Although there are some noticeable costume issues throughout the show, such as the amount of creasing his suits oftentimes fall victim to, for the most part the production's costume designers managed to recreate the classic styles of yesteryear really nicely. The casual yet powerful look alongside the variation of Draper's suits makes him stand out amongst the crowd as the main character, the one to focus on. And so there's no wonder why the show has been hailed for its visual production. Although a small detail, clothing can make or break the show's look, and in the case of Don Draper, we wouldn't have wanted it any other way.